40 below and a 60-mile-an-hour wind. Like, I'll tell you, you see colors of light, you're like, holy mackerel, where all these colors come from? The reds and the greens and the blues, and they're just like, sometimes there's no sky almost. It's just all northern lights up there. And you'll be trying to get a good look at them as you're driving down the road at your 25 kilometers an hour. It's you got a wide open space, you got a lot of horizon. You can sort of like you can look a long ways, and then you have the reds and the pinks and some orange, quite a bit of orange, and sometime we'll get some mauve in there too, and it sort of it changes through the evening.
That was an excerpt from a documentary about ice trucker Alex Debogorski. It aired on the Sunday edition back in 2008. It was produced by Dave Miller of CBC Yellowknife. That's all for this week. The show is produced by Craig Desson with help from Anna Lazowski. Storylines is part of the CBC Audio Doc Unit. I'm Jody Martinson. Thanks for listening.
You're listening to CBC Radio 1. CBC, always here for Canada.
This is Michael Bublé, host of the Junos, Canada's biggest night in music. And trust me, this lineup is going to be everything.
With performances by Aquila, Baby No Money, Josh Ross, Nemesis, Snotty Nose Rez Kids, a special final performance by Sum 41, and Michael Bublé.
Now that's what I call a party.
Don't miss the Junos, live March 30th at 8 Eastern on CBC and CBC Gem.
And you're all invited.
We carry a world of information in our pockets because we want to know. It's news you can trust, delivered when you want and where you want on Canada's News app. Now with CBC Radio 1, local and live. Download the CBC News app for free.
This is CBC News. Good afternoon, I'm Julie Buckingham. At 12 o'clock, it's cloudy and -4 in downtown Winnipeg. Some sunny breaks this afternoon, the high of 2. The cost of redeveloping the downtown Winnipeg former Bay building is up more than 50%. CBC's Bartley Kivas reports.
The mixed-use project called Wewene Bagakinigan is now projected to cost $310 million. That's up from $200 million in 2023. The Southern Chiefs organization says it's feeling the pinch of construction inflation, partly fueled by the Canada-U.S. trade war. But it also has a better handle on what will and won't be part of the project. There will still be an atrium in the middle of the building. A crane on site will soon start removing part of the roof. There will also still be 373 housing units, but none of them will be assisted living units for elders. There's still a child care center, but no museum and gallery. A memorial for residential school survivors is being scaled back, and a health and healing facility is up in the air. 3 levels of government have committed $141 million in cash, loans, and tax breaks for the project. Grand Chief Jerry Daniels says the SEO is still working on the remaining $160 million. Wewene is now slated to open in 2028. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A 44-year-old man from Fraserwood is dead after a crash in the RMF St. Andrews. RCMP were called to Highway 8 at Road 84 North around 1 this morning. Officers found a vehicle in the ditch. The driver died at the scene. Police say he was not wearing a seatbelt. A Winnipeg man who took it upon himself to clean graffiti of swastikas off properties in Charleswood is happy to hear terrorism charges are being laid. RCMP announced counts of facilitating terrorist activity for 19-year-old Nevin Thunder Young. In January, he was charged with dozens of counts of mischief related to the graffiti that appeared last fall. Avram Sharak says he's happy police are taking the situation seriously.
It's not just anti-Jewish hate. It's not just Jew hatred and anti-Semitism. This is neo-Nazis who hate everyone except for themselves. And I'm worried for society, and I'm happy that the government is as well.
Young remains in custody. Sharak says since the arrest, there has been no more anti-Semitic graffiti in the neighborhood. None of the charges have been proven in court. On an election-style visit to Sudbury, Ontario, Party leader Pierre Poilievre says a Conservative government would prioritize opening up that region's rare mineral deposits.
It would be life-changing for Northern Ontario towns, galvanizing thousands of paychecks and modern infrastructure. It would help our First Nations become richer. It would boost our economy with billions of dollars, allowing us to become less dependent on the Americans after we start selling those resources overseas.
The area is known as the Ring of Fire. It's north of Thunder Bay and contains vast deposits of nickel, copper, platinum, and cobalt, potentially worth tens of billions of dollars. Ontario Premier Doug Ford is promising to speed up provincial development approvals. And Poilievre says his government would provide $1 billion in funding to develop road infrastructure. Meanwhile, Poilievre is seizing on remarks made by Donald Trump last night. Poilievre paints himself as the tougher opponent when it comes to negotiating with the U.S. president. Details from Rafi Boudjikanian.
The president said that having a Liberal prime minister would be easier for him to deal with, just as he threatened once again to make us the 51st state.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre adding a new line of attack to his pre-election campaign rhetoric.
I'm a strong leader. I'm a tough guy to deal with.
Donald Trump has loomed over Canadian politics for months, especially after starting the current trade war with Ottawa. On Fox News last night, he weighed in on the coming election campaign.
The Conservative that's running is stupidly no friend of mine. I don't know him, but he said negative things.
And that's not all he had to say.
I think it's easier to deal with a Liberal. And maybe they're going to win, but I don't really care.
An election call could come in a matter of days. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Ottawa.
The presidents of the U.S. and Ukraine spoke for about an hour following a conversation Donald Trump had yesterday with Vladimir Putin. The Russian president has agreed to temporarily stop attacking Ukrainian energy facilities, but declined to back-to-back full-day, 30-day ceasefire. Trump says today's conversation with Vladimir Zelensky focused on Ukraine's requests and needs, and the ceasefire efforts are very much on track. A group of senior executives calling on the leaders of the federal political parties to declare a Canadian energy crisis. They want emergency powers to be used to speed up development of projects that they say are in the national interest. The CEOs are from 10 of Canada's largest oil and gas producers and 4 of the country's largest pipelines. Last year, Canada adding 744,000 people to its population, now for a total of 41.5 million. That's an increase of 1.8%. Statistics Canada says the pace of population growth has slowed since the third quarter of 2023. That is the CBC News from Winnipeg. Your next local CBC News is at 12:30. Turning to your forecast, in Winnipeg, sun cloud mix and 2. Brandon, a mix of sun and clouds. Windy, gusting to 50 this afternoon, the high 0. Dauphin, sun cloud mix, maybe some flurries and high of 0. Flin Flon and the Paw, some sun today and -3. Sunshine and -7 for Thompson. In Churchill, sunny and -17 is your high. You're listening to CBC Radio 1, 990 AM, 89.3 FM.
Good afternoon, Manitoba. You are listening to Radio Noon here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM in Winnipeg, 97.9 FM in Brandon, on the CBC Listen app and streaming on CBC Manitoba's YouTube channel. I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. Here's what's coming up on the show today. During our call-in segment, spring break is coming up. Many Canadians are choosing to stay closer to home instead of making cross-border trips. We want to know during our conversation where you're going instead of heading south for spring. That's after 12:30. Also, This year marks the 10th year for the Flash Photographic Festival. We're going to hear about some rural and northern communities that are taking part. That's at 12:15. But first up here, rising costs. The price of redeveloping the former Hudson's Bay building in downtown Winnipeg is going up again. $310 million. That is the new projected cost of redeveloping the former Hudson's Bay building in downtown Winnipeg. That's up from $200 million that it was projected to cost back in 2023. The Southern Chiefs organization is transforming the former department store into a mixed-use development. It's called Winnipeg Bay. 3 levels of government have pledged to the project a combined $141 million in funding, loans, and tax breaks. SEO Grand Chief Jerry Daniels gave an update on the project at an event earlier today.
This project represents a bold vision for reconciliation, urban renewal, and economic empowerment. Once completed, Winnipeg Bay, meaning it is visible in Anishinaabe Mowin, will feature 373 housing units, 200 affordable housing units for First Nation citizens, office and retail spaces to foster First Nations entrepreneurship. The project has continued to evolve from its conceptual design to now a fully priced and executable design. Throughout this journey, the program has evolved into now including 373 residential units, while still offering certain commercial, retail, and a number of cultural spaces. That's about a 40% increase from the original announcement that we made here. The total redevelopment budget for Winnipeg Bay is currently sitting at $310 million. This is attributed to a combination of increasing accurate budgeting, evolution of design, and pricing since the general contractor has been confirmed. Additionally, supply chain pressures, inflation, and tariff threats on construction materials, plus heritage building upgrades, structural reinforcements, and modern energy efficiency standards have all contributed to the current budget. Based on the latest construction schedule, this project is set to be completed in the second quarter of 2028. Winnipeg Bay will create social and economic opportunity, revitalizing the former HBC building while preserving its important heritage and helping to revive Winnipeg's downtown core. The project will create significant long-term employment, including more than 1 million working hours during the construction phase.
I'd like to call on Minister Dogood, Minister Terry Dogood.
Beyond the numbers, this project represents something much bigger. It represents hope. It represents partnership and the power of working together. All levels of government, including Indigenous leadership and private sector partners, are united in ensuring this vision becomes a reality. The installation of this tower crane is more than just an engineering feat. It is a symbol of what's possible when we come together with a shared purpose.
I'd like to welcome the Deputy Mayor of Winnipeg, Councillor Marcus Chambers.
Downtown revitalization. The Winnipeg project is a cornerstone of Winnipeg's downtown renewal, transforming the former Hudson's Bay building into a hub of culture, commerce, and community, and complementing the work on Portage Place just across the street. It's bringing new life to this historic space. We're not just about preserving a landmark, we're about redefining what downtown Winnipeg can be. A vibrant, inclusive, and welcoming place for all. This project aligns with the city's broader efforts to attract investment and grow our economy and ensure downtown remains a place where people want to live, work, and visit. It's building more housing, addressing Winnipeg's housing needs in terms of a priority, and this development will provide 373 housing units, including 200 affordable homes for First Nation citizens. Housing projects like this are a key to ensuring everyone in our city has access to safe and stable homes while supporting the economic and social well-being of each individual. Partnerships between Indigenous leadership, governments, and the private sector demonstrate what's possible when we come together to create a real solution for housing. And in terms of economic reconciliation, Waiwana is a model for economic reconciliation. With 76% of the workforce on this project being Indigenous, this development is building careers, capacities, and long-term prosperity for nations and citizens represented by the Southern Chiefs organization. How powerful was that statement that we just saw earlier of all of those Indigenous workers here, standing here, participating in the development of the Hudson Bay store. They can tell their children and grandchildren that they had a hand in building this space for years to come.
CBC wants to get to know you a little bit better. I'm Rosanna Hempel. CBC's Communities in Focus is coming to Winkler and Morden March 17th to 21st. What do you want us to know about your communities? What stories are we missing? I can't wait to meet you. Visit cbc.ca/Manitoba/community for details.
It is 12:13 and you are listening to Radio Noon here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM in Winnipeg on the CBC Listen app and streaming on CBC Manitoba's YouTube channel. I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. Still ahead here, for the first time in its history, the Flash Photographic Festival will become a province-wide celebration, including rural and northern communities. Stay tuned for that. But first, let's talk about your forecast today in Winnipeg. High of 2 degrees under a mix of sun and cloud. Northwest wind could gust to 30 this afternoon. Tonight, -6 under a partly cloudy sky. Tomorrow, mix of sun and cloud with increasing cloud late in the day and a high of 4 degrees. We're going to cool back down to a high of -7. Or on Saturday, mainly sunny with increasing cloud late in the day. Current conditions, mist being reported in Brandon right now at -9. Sunny in Churchill at -17. Right now in Dauphin, sunny and -4 with a west-northwest wind gusting to 45. Flin Flon, mainly sunny and -7 at this hour. In the Paw, it is -6 under a cloudy sky. -11 in Thompson and mainly sunny with a west-northwest wind gusting to 35. In Winnipeg right now at the Forks, -3. At the airport, -4 under a mostly cloudy sky. Well, sharing snapshots of our province, the 10th annual Flash Photographic Festival will kick off in April. But for the first time in the festival's history, venues in rural and northern communities will be participating. Akshay Ved is the marketing coordinator for the Manitoba Arts Network. The network represents rural and northern artists. Hi, Akshay. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yes, hi. Thank you for having me.
First, tell us about the festival. What is the Flash Photographic Festival for people who have never heard of it before?
So, Flash started as a photographic festival showing the works of photographers and lens-based artists, and it catered to Winnipeg and Winnipeg artists. However, for the very first time, as you mentioned, Flash is going into rural and northern spaces in Manitoba.
So tell us more about which communities, which spaces in rural and northern Manitoba will be taking part and showing some of the photographs.
So there are a lot of venues and organizations in rural and northern spaces that are a part of the Flash Photographic Festival, including Morden, including Winkler, including up north in Flin Flon as well. So yes, it is a province-wide celebration this time, and we are fortunate enough that, Flash is giving the opportunity to artists in these spaces to showcase their work on such a wide scale.
Akshay, why is it important to include communities outside of Winnipeg in this?
I personally believe that it's very important to say the least, because it's important for us to know that there are artists in these spaces and who are doing some great work, making some great art, and photographers that often go unseen and unheard of. So it's very important that these artists have a space to showcase their work, because their vision is also shaped by where they're from, their communities, and it's important for everyone to see that art just doesn't exist in the perimeter or inside the perimeter. There's a wide range of very talented artists from all over this beautiful province.
So tell us a little bit more. What are some of the pictures, or what are people going to be seeing when they walk into those spaces in Morden, in Winkler, in the Paw, in Flin Flon?
So all of these organizations and all of these venues are having separate exhibitions, and from artists from these communities, right? And we are also in Winnipeg bringing artists from 3 rural and northern locations, from Brandon, from Manitou, and from Flin Flon. So we'll have Kaylee Brown, we'll have Noelle Drimmy, and we'll have Susan Crawford Young coming and showing their work for the very first time in Winnipeg at the 210 Gallery on Princess Street. So we're very excited for that, and it's a wide array and it's a wide showcase of talent all over Manitoba.
So how did it work out, actually, that the festival and the Manitoba Arts Network came together? How did this partnership come together?
So as part of Manitoba Arts Network's mandate, we promote and showcase arts in and from rural and northern Manitoba. So about a year ago, the people from Flash Photographic Festival got in touch with us and told us about their expansion and how they were looking to go into rural and northern Manitoba and spaces in rural and northern Manitoba. So we connected them with our members. We also invited them to our annual conference, which is called the Manitoba Showcase last year. And they were present there. They met all of these fantastic people who are doing great work in these spaces. And they were able to make this happen, and I'm happy to say that 12 of those organizations are part of this photographic festival. So that's very exciting, and
yeah, that's really wonderful to hear, Akshay, that this has expanded to other parts of the province. So why would you encourage people wherever they are in Manitoba to check out the festival?
Yes, so I would suggest everyone or urge everyone to make the time and drive down to Brandon if you're in Winnipeg, or drive down to Winkler and see the artists and what work is being made in these spaces. And if unfortunately you can't drive down, make sure you come to the 210 Gallery in Winnipeg, where we are bringing these artists from rural and northern Manitoba to the heart of Winnipeg.
Akshay, very exciting, very excited to hear more about this. And thank you for sharing, in more information about the festival with us and joining us on the show today. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much, Marjorie. It was great. Thank you.
Akshay Ved is the marketing coordinator for the Manitoba Arts Network. The Flash Photographic Festival takes place around Manitoba from April 1st to the 30th. For more information, you can visit flashfest.net. It is now 12:20 and you're listening to Radio Noon here on CBC Radio 1. Life can be expensive, and so can some hobbies like downhill skiing. Lift tickets at Canada's big resorts have become so pricey, some people are going a long way for cheaper lifts. CBC's Danielle Nerman has that story.
Scott Davies just got back from his annual ski trip.
It was amazing, and I could take up way more than 15 minutes just yammering on about that, but I won't do that.
Oh no, do go on.
The snowbanks in town were like 10 feet tall, and every day we were skiing like knee-deep powder. It was pretty nuts.
Usually, Scott and his buddies go somewhere in Canada, but this year they went to Japan, and not just for the snow.
Like, I think when we added up, it was like cheaper than going to places in the Rockies.
In Japan, food and hotels cost them less. So did lift tickets. And it was the same story last year when they skied the Austrian Alps.
$60 for a day. And it's not like you're going to some rinky-dink little hill, and therefore that's why it's cheaper. It's like you're getting a very comparable product for a much lower price.
Here in Canada, it can cost between $150 and $300 a day to ride the gondola. At some big ski areas, the price of a lift ticket has jumped more than 100% in the last 5 years. Industry experts say a lot of this has to do with consolidation. Big companies buying multiple ski resorts across North America. U.S. giant Vail owns 42 of them, including Whistler Blackcomb. And Revelstoke belongs to the same company that owns Denny's and the Dallas Stars. Less competition means higher prices. In Europe, there's just more choice. There are 15 times the ski hills there than in Canada.
Skiing and being on the mountain is part of their lifestyle. It's part of who they are, their identity.
Richard Savage is the president of Snow Savvy Marketing in Toronto.
The European model is state-run, maybe family-run and owned. Individual restaurants and hotels and pieces of that ski area are owned and operated by different pieces.
Pubs, ski schools, chalets. He says everything is way more competitive.
Because it's all like fiercely independent and independently owned and operated on the mountains, you've got so many options. You can pop in for a pint and a slice or whatever for less money than you would spend in any North American destination. And then again, the lift tickets are relatively inexpensive.
Why? Well, a lot of European resorts get government funding and subsidies, which help keep ticket prices low. This is also the case in Japan. But Paul Pinchbeck with the Canadian Ski Council says you can ski on this continent without breaking the bank.
There's 240 ski areas in Canada. So, there are still some good deals. And yes, under $100 or under $50 or $60 in some markets.
Many hills even have a deal for first-time skiers. A lift ticket, gear rental, and a lesson for under $30. And if you want to ski the big resorts, buy your season pass for next year right now. That's where you'll find the deep discounts. But for Scott Davies, that's just too big of a commitment. Because if you get a bad snow year,
You've pre-bought your stuff and, commit to spending $1,000 on lift tickets when you're not even sure if you're going to, enjoy those days or if you would have rather spent that money on other things.
Like skiing in the Alps.
Even if you have totally crap snow all week in Austria, you're still in Austria finding castles and looking at old towns.
And eating mountains of Wiener Schnitzel. For CBC Radio, I'm Danielle Nerman.
For more stories about how money shapes our lives in ways big and small, check out the Cost of Living podcast. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts or catch the show on CBC Radio 1 at noon on Sundays and Tuesday mornings at 11:30 a.m.
Every corner of Canada deserves a voice. Local news connects us from coast to coast to coast. CBC is expanding local news locations all over the country, and we're looking for storytellers. Help us tell your story and make a difference in your community. Visit cbc.ca/workwithus to apply today.
12:25. It is -3 and partly cloudy in Portage right now. In Swan River, -6. New music from Juno Award winner Dan Megan. His latest album, Natural Light, was created by Dan and his friends over the course of 6 days in a cabin in the woods. Here's the first single. This is Melody.
Melody chose me, and Melody changed her mind. I should be over it now, but I ain't over it now. That's why I'd rather be lonely than be somebody's wasted time. I should be over it now, to be chosen and then unchosen. They always gotta go when you want them to stay, so it's better not to love in case it's taken away. Just when you think you got some skin in the game, and just when you think the tides are turning your way, just when you think you got a bird in hand, it's a shakedown, broken to a shell of a man. So why melody chose me? Oh, why melody chose.
That is new music from Dan Megan. That was Melody. We're coming up to your local news, but first, coming up during our call-in conversation, we're going to be talking about spring break trips. Yes, as we know, U.S. Customs and Border Protection says that travel south of the border was down last month compared to last year. So do you need an idea on where you want to go here in Manitoba? Are you stuck for ideas? Maybe you have a hidden gem that you'd like to share with listeners. Give us a call here coming up on Radio Noon. I'll give you the number to call, 204-7800-893. You can also text us at 204-588-7355. Stay with us. Your CBC Local News is coming up next.
This is CBC News. Good afternoon, I'm Julie Buckingham in downtown Winnipeg at 12:30. Partly cloudy and -4. We are anticipating a mix of sun and clouds for the rest of the afternoon and a high of 2. The cost of the project to revitalize the former Hudson's Bay building in downtown Winnipeg is climbing to $310 million. That's up from the 2023 estimate of $200 million for the Winnipeg Bay. Southern Chiefs Organization Grand Chief Jerry Daniels says it's a combination of more accurate budgeting, supply chain pressures, along with tariff threats, and the cost of renovating a heritage building. So far, the 3 levels of government have provided $141 million for the project.
We've been working through those challenges, and so we have a plan, and so we want to obviously talk about that right now, but we will get there, and I guarantee that our team is well prepared for that.
A combination of increasing accurate budgeting, evolution of design, and pricings since the general contractor has been confirmed. U.S. President Donald Trump once again weighing in on Canadian politics. It is a different message this time, and one that's caught the attention of the Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. Janice McGregor reports.
After falsely accusing Justin Trudeau of clinging to power, Donald Trump now seems to be acknowledging that Canadians have a new prime minister and will soon head to the polls to decide whether or not the Liberals should get a fresh mandate to govern. In an interview with Fox News last night, Trump offered this take on the choice that Canadian voters have in front of them.
The Conservative that's running is stupidly no friend of mine. I don't know him, but he said negative things. So I think it's easier to deal, actually, with a Liberal.
Pierre Poilievre noticed Trump's criticism, weighed in on his social media account overnight, calling this an endorsement of Mark Carney, and suggested that Trump knows that the Conservative leader would be a tough negotiator. Poilievre's adopted the Canada First slogan to try to pivot to a more nationalist stance. It's one that's reminiscent in its style of the populist politics that carried the day in the U.S. last November, while also trying to fight against it in substance. Janice McGregor, CBC News, Ottawa.
Canada's population continues to grow, albeit at a slower pace than before. Statistics Canada says the population grew to more than 41.5 million people as of January 1st this year, as the pace of growth continued to slow after peaking in the third quarter of 2023. The Quebec government drafting legislation allowing restaurants to charge for certain reservation no-shows. The establishments would be able to charge up to $10 per person for those no-shows for at least 5 people. The eateries would not be allowed to charge a fee if at least one person from the group showed up to eat. That is the CBC News from Winnipeg. Your next local CBC News is at 1:30.
Well, isn't that interesting, right?
Interesting, and enshrining it in legislation, potentially.
Yeah. I wonder how many people there made reservations and didn't show up. I know it's...
Good question.
Yeah. It's not fair, too, because obviously there are some people who want to get into a restaurant, but they can't get a table. So, okay. Yeah.
Then I'm not sure how they collect it.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Thanks a lot,
you
Julie.
bet.
That's Julie Buckingham with your CBC local news. You are listening to Radio Noon here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM in Winnipeg on the CBC Listen app and also streaming on CBC Manitoba's YouTube channel. I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. Thank you so much for joining us. It is now 12:33 and coming up here during our call-in conversation, U.S. Customs and Border Protection say that travel south of the border was down last month compared to last year. 500,000 fewer Canadians crossed that border. Now, if you're planning on staying here during spring break, where in Manitoba should you plan to go? Do you need some ideas? Are you stuck on some ideas on where you should go? Maybe you have a hidden gem you'd like to share. Call in during our call-in conversation. We're going to be speaking with Colin Ferguson, CEO and President of Travel Manitoba here coming up. Number to call is 204-7800-893, 204-7800-893, or maybe you'd like to text us, 204-588-7355, 204-588-7355. Let's turn our attention now to the forecast. CBC weather specialist Riley Lachuk joins me now. Hi, Riley. Spring is coming up, but it's not going to really feel like spring, isn't it? No.
We've a few more days to get to before we start to maybe bloom the flowers a little bit here and before the page turns.
Yes.
So spring officially beginning at 4:01 tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Very early in the morning. Doesn't mean that you're going to wake up to blooming flowers, chirping birds, all of that, but just noting that the season's changing and we can say goodbye and good riddance to the winter that we had. -3 in Winnipeg at the moment, -9 in Brandon. Temperatures in the north, -11 or colder right now. Thompson's at -11 down to -18 into Julie Lake. So we're looking at some chillier conditions in the north, which is under the influence of a bit of high pressure. Mostly sunny skies in the south right now. There is some cloud passing through, so that's why I'm saying a mix of sun and clouds throughout the day today. And even in some of this embedded flurries as expected, particularly moving through the Riding Mountain region over Lake Manitoba right now. So if you're on Highway 6, you might run into a few flurries here and there through the afternoon hours. But other than that, we're looking at a mix of sun and clouds through the day today. We'll rinse and repeat. We'll do the same thing again tomorrow. A weak area of low pressure moves across northern Manitoba. So places like Grand Rapids, Norway House, Flin Flon, the Pas, overnight into Thursday morning, picking up maybe a couple centimeters, maybe a dusting of snow. So keep that in mind through tomorrow. Into Friday, we see a bit of a change, and we see a ridge of high pressure that will slowly start to make its way a bit further south. So that will help push out any remaining cloud cover that we have here in southern Manitoba in time for, in time for Friday morning. But the trade-off is we get a bit of a cooler day Friday into Saturday before we start to warm up into next week. I'm shooting for 2 degrees in Winnipeg this afternoon. Confident we can get there. However, we are still below the freezing mark right now, but we have a little ways to go yet. Southern Manitoba looking at temperatures at or around the freezing mark through the afternoon hours today. The Pas -3 this afternoon. Thompson looking at partly cloudy skies, -7, +4 tomorrow to start spring. So yes, it will feel very spring-like out there. Probably pretty sloppy out there as well. And then that cold front sweeps through, that ridge of high pressure sets in, -7 for Friday, -4 for Saturday, maybe a couple flurries into Sunday, a high of -1 and +5 again for Monday.
We may be done with winter.
Yeah.
But winter's not done with
Not
us.
quite.
Even though technically it will be spring at 4:00 in the morning tomorrow.
Yeah. Wake up and celebrate.
All right. Thanks a lot, Riley.
You're welcome.
That's CBC weather specialist Riley Lachuk. And you can see more of Riley's forecast coming up tonight on CBC Winnipeg News at 6 on CBC television, streaming also on CBC Gem. It is now 12:37. Canada-U.S. relations are having an impact on the number of people heading south of the border. According to the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, nearly 500,000 fewer travelers crossed from Canada into the States last month compared to February of last year. And that number is the lowest it's been since April 2022. With spring break coming up, many Canadians are choosing to travel here at home instead. What are you planning to do this spring break? Are you planning to stick close to home? What are your plans? Are you stuck for ideas? Or maybe you still plan to cross that border? Also, Do you have any hidden gems that maybe people should know about? Give us a call, 204-780-0893, 204-780-0893. And maybe you want to text us at 204-588-7355, 204-588-7355. Colin Ferguson is the CEO and president of Travel Manitoba and joins me now via Zoom. Hello, welcome to the show, Colin.
Marjorie, nice to be here.
Thank you for joining us. So we heard those numbers from U.S. Customs and Border Protection. What have you been seeing or hearing at Travel Manitoba about the number of people that have decided they want to stay here at home or even want to cross the border and go to the U.S.?
We have definitely seen a softening of Canadians traveling south. That is true. The numbers that we have are somewhere in the neighborhood of about a 25% decline over the previous year. And I anticipate those numbers will continue to climb. But conversely, we are still seeing very positive response from Americans wanting to travel in Manitoba. I would say that they are marginally up. There's strong interest. And that's primarily for a number of Americans who like to fish in Canadian waters. So they come and they go into the fly-in fishing camps. We do extremely well with American visitation against some of the bucket list experiences we have in the province, like a polar bear, beluga whale, and northern lights viewing in the Churchill area and in the north. These are significant opportunities for people from California, New York, and other locations. So we are still seeing a pretty strong attraction there amongst Americans. But you're absolutely right. We are seeing some decline amongst Canadians going south, which leads us to, I think, what the purpose of today's discussion is about: all the amazing things you can actually see in Manitoba if you choose to stay home.
Yeah, I want to talk about, we'll talk about some of those attractions coming up here, but I want to talk about the numbers of Canadians that are choosing to not cross the U.S. As mentioned, those numbers take us back to a time during the pandemic and travel and people deciding not to cross the border. Are these kind of the same levels that you're seeing right now comparable to what we saw during the pandemic?
I don't think it's the same levels that we saw in the pandemic, from the perspective that many of the borders, including provincial borders, and quite frankly, people in southern Manitoba that couldn't travel to northern Manitoba. I mean, there were a different set of restrictions that are in place. So we are seeing a softening. That's not to suggest that all Canadians are not traveling south, but we are definitely seeing a softening. We are certainly hearing from, places like Grand Forks and other, communities and cities that are close to borders or close to the Canadian-U.S. border that are seeing a rather substantial decline and who are dependent, quite frankly, on a lot of Canadian visitation. So it's, I know this is going to be challenging for both sides of the border and will continue to be challenging. I'm assuming that, Grand Forks has seen quite a reduction in the number of bookings that traditionally they would have year over year. But it does leave the opportunity for Manitobans to travel within their own province or other parts of the country. And it also opens up greater opportunity for Canadians to explore other parts of Canada that they may not have explored in the past or may not have considered in the past. And so I think that bodes very well for Manitoba over the summer and into the fall.
We're speaking with Colin Ferguson, President and CEO of Travel Manitoba. We're asking you why you've decided to stay home here instead and maybe travel across the country this spring break, or maybe why you're deciding to cross the border. Maybe you also want to share an idea of where people should go and check out this spring break. Again, give us a call. The number is 204-780-0893, 204-780-0893. You can also text us at 204-588-7355, 204-588-7355. So, Colin, let's get to some places that people should check out in Manitoba. What are some of your suggestions? I mean, we have a huge province and a lot of places that people can check out.
There are a lot of things that people can check out. First of all, during the pandemic, when people really didn't have an opportunity to go anywhere else, they did travel within their own province. And Manitobans liked what they saw, and they have continued to travel within their own province. And thank you to all Manitobans that continue to do that, because it strengthens our economy here locally. Places to go, and there are numerous. Believe me, there are many. The list is endless. I would start by saying, if you're looking for some inspiration, you're looking to try to find something to do, possibly over the spring break, or you've got family visiting, or you're looking after your grandchildren, or whatever the criteria might be, go on travelmanitoba.com. There's a tremendous amount of information right there on all the things you can do. You can also come into our visitor center at the Forks. Now, you don't have to technically be a visitor. You can be a local, or you can be from other parts of Manitoba and come in and challenge our frontline staff. We're interested in doing these kinds of things. Where would you recommend we go? But let's start with, why don't I just throw out a few ideas for people to consider. We have about 230 museums in Manitoba, and a lot of people go, oh, museums are kind of passé. I call them must-seeums because there are certain things out there in these facilities that people are just not aware of. One that comes to mind, which is absolutely spectacular, if you have anybody in your family who is interested in dinosaurs, is the Canadian Fossil Discovery Centre in Morden. If you have not been there, you're in for quite a shock. So, for example, if you have seen Jurassic World, I think the movie was.
Yeah.
And the T-Rex is standing beside the aquarium and he's barking out loud or whatever sound he's making, and that thing comes out of the aquarium and takes him down. That's a mosasaur. And there are mosasaurs being found all over the Morden area, along with many other different species. I call them aquasaurs, aquatic dinosaurs. They are everywhere. That is spectacular. The Children's Museum is amazing. The Gimli Glider Museum, if you've never been, find out whether you can land an out-of-fuel Air Canada 767. I'm talking about a true story here, which landed in the Gimli area, which was out of fuel and lost all of its fuel somewhere over Red Lake, Ontario. Go, the story is amazing. The Fort Loraine Museum, the Manitoba Ag Museum. It just keeps on going. The Royal Aviation Museum, the Manitoba Museum, the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. No problem with museums. If you're looking to do something relaxing, some of the best spa opportunities that exist in the province of Manitoba. Obviously, many have heard of Thermea. That's a great opportunity here in Winnipeg. Ten Spa in the Fort Garry Hotel is a classic. The Riverstone Spa at the Inn in the Forks, also a classic. If you want to get out of town, the Clarso Spa up at Elkhorn Ranch in Riding Mountain National Park is massive. It's amazing. It's huge. And that's a good one. And also the Sulka Spa up in Hecla. Now, as we talk about all these places, don't wait till the last minute to book them, because they're booking up quickly and they're booking up fast. So places like anywhere in Wasagaming, for example, which is in Clear Lake, those hotels and accommodations are booking, so get on them. And I've said many times, it is absolutely breathtaking in the summer, but it's inspirational in the winter. And you're going to get to see some warmer weathers up there. Falcon Trails, another one, is terrific. Cross-country skiing, some downhill skiing, all kinds of opportunities for you there. Hecla, I just mentioned. So there are a lot of resorts that you can access very quickly. They're great for family fun, and they're great for couples to get away. Lots of things to do there. There's lots of things to do in Winnipeg. You know, if you like pierogies, there is something called the
and who
pierogi
doesn't,
trip.
right?
I encourage you to take a cut at that one. Try the James Avenue Pump House pierogi, but don't try it alone. It's quite big. The Comedy Festival, Winnipeg Comedy Festival, is coming up. Manitowabi is coming up. If you're interested in an event that has been a proven success for some 55 years, Brandon's Royal Winter Fair is amazing. To go and see, heavy horses and some of the incredible exhibitions that they have on up there. This one is fun for the whole family, and I encourage people to take a look at that.
Yeah, and you know what? Actually, Colin, we have a comment here in regards to the Royal Manitoba Winter Fair. Laura has messaged, and Laura said, I highly recommend the Royal Manitoba Winter Fair in Brandon. I took my granddaughter there every year for many years, and my parents took their great-grandchildren to the fair for many years. There is something for everyone of all ages at the fair. It happens March 31st to April 5th. So some of these, as you mentioned, have been around for such a long time that they've actually become a tradition among families, and you can actually start a tradition yourself, right?
Totally. I couldn't have said it any better than the person that called in, because that is exactly what the Brandon Winter Fair is all about. it got the category of royalty as the Royal Brandon Winter Fair for a lot of good reasons. And one of them is because it's a very well put on event. And so if you're looking for something to do over a weekend or over a couple of days, drive out to Brandon, head out to the Brandon area. That one is really top drawer for people who are looking for things to do during spring break. And so I would strongly encourage that one.
We are speaking with Colin Ferguson, President and CEO of Travel Manitoba. We're talking about some ideas on where you should go, Manitoba, check things out if you're looking to do some things during spring break. As we heard, numbers of Canadians traveling south of the border is down. Maybe you just are stuck for ideas. Give us a call. Or maybe there's a hidden gem that you'd like to share with us. The number to call is 204-7800893, 204-7800893. You can also text us at 204-588-7355, 204-588-7355. Colin, I want to ask you, do you have any favorites that you like to check out here in Manitoba? I mean, you've had a chance to go everywhere and check out everything.
I have to be very careful about how I list these because we do represent all of them. But, you know, there are truly a number of things that are quite amazing in the Manitoba area. I know that this is probably not one for spring break, but I am going to do a call out for some of the bucket list opportunities that you can experience here in the province of Manitoba. First of all, you know, and we hear it all the time, you know, why would I go to Churchill? It's expensive. It's in my own province. Why, you know, I'd rather go south or do whatever. If you have not seen polar bears in the wild, this is remarkable. And it is on comparison levels to that of going on safari in Africa or going to the Galapagos Islands or whatever. And for a lot of people, when they come back, they become absolute ambassadors and they talk about this. You can see them from the security and safety of a tundra vehicle. There is even an operator where you can walk amongst them. This is the #1 predator on Earth. They've never had an issue. And that is if you want a real heart racer, there's one there. If you have ever been whale watching in another country and you've seen a whale from some distance, this is not whale watching in Churchill. You will have beluga whales right beside your kayak or beside the boat that you're in or beside the Zodiac or what have you. And there aren't one or two, there are hundreds of them. And they're about 16 feet in length. It's really quite remarkable. And to get the smile off some people's faces is virtually impossible after they've experienced it. And Northern Lights, I would say Churchill is one of the top 3 places on the planet to see Northern Lights. So if you're looking for that bucket list experience, I would strongly recommend those 3 opportunities in the Churchill and surrounding areas.
Well, Colin, we have calls that are coming in fast and furious. We have Carmen on the line right now. Hi, Carmen.
Hi there, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm well, thanks for asking.
What's your comment or question?
I would suggest to the people out there to do some research on some First Nations communities and go visit the communities and maybe participate in a sweat lodge and really see the culture. And honestly, a lot of these communities now, I shouldn't say now, but that I've been to have some great restaurants where you can try some bannock and some pickerel and all sorts of traditional foods. But honestly, if you've never experienced the Aboriginal culture, it's beautiful. And Manitoba has, I don't know how many communities, 50 plus, if not more. Go online. I think I wouldn't know how to find them. I know that I've gone to Fort Alexander, Saguin, a few times, and I spoke to an elder, and they invited me to their sweat lodges. And I'm telling you, it's a great day trip for your family, and let's enjoy the beauties that we have in this wonderful province.
Thank you so much, Carmen. As we heard there, Colin from Carmen, really rich Indigenous Aboriginal history here in Manitoba, and there's lots to check out.
Couldn't agree with them more. Obviously, I think I already mentioned the Manitoba Festival. That's in May, so that's not immediate. If you, there is also one of the most interesting museums is the National Residential School Museum in Portage la Prairie, and that's one that There's some significant learning to be had there. He's mentioned restaurants, and there are numerous restaurants throughout the province. One that comes to mind here in Winnipeg is Feast, and you get the opportunity to try different Indigenous flavors and challenge your palate that way. But here again, you can go online to travelmanitoba.com and check things out. You can also go on Indigenous Tourism Manitoba and check out some of the opportunities they have, which would include things like retailers, sellers of beaded products, artisans, and the like. So there's obviously there's a very rich history of Indigenous opportunity here in the province of Manitoba. And to your caller's question, I encourage people to find out more.
Thank you very much. We have Bob next on the line. Hi, Bob.
Oh, good afternoon. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I just have a very simple tip for you, your listeners. A new book to me. It's called 111 Things Not to Be Missed in Winnipeg, and it has everything in there. 111 from soup to nuts, and it even includes your previous recommendation of the restaurant, The Feast. So get out there, get this book. I got it from McNally Robinson and a great independent bookstore, and it will show you things you've never even thought about. I've lived in Winnipeg for 60 years, and some of the things in there were news to me.
Thank you so much, Bob. Yeah, a book, 111 Things to Do in Winnipeg. That's a lot of things to check out, Colin.
That is. Thank you, Bob, for even referencing that, because that's exactly the kind of thing that we are trying to get out from a message perspective. There are people in the province of Manitoba who are saying, I don't know where to go, I don't know what to do. We would typically go here, or we would typically go there. There are so many opportunities inside this province, and I think you will find a richness of different opportunities that exist, both in the city of Winnipeg, Brandon, Portage, the north. If you're an angler, fishing in this province is about as good as it gets. Freshwater fishing in Manitoba is absolutely world class. I don't have to tell that to too many of the anglers. They already know that. But if you've never tried it before, now's the time to check it out. And you can try ice fishing in the north still, snowmobiling in the north still. We still have some winter out there. Although according to your weatherman, Marjorie, it is on the decline, and that's also positive because that brings spring and an amazing summer on. So, but to your caller, thank you, Bob, for bringing that forward, because I know there's more than 110 things that you can do in the province, or in the city, but that's the kind of information that you can get online at travelmanitoba.com, or, as I said, come into one of our visitor centers and ask, and they'll be there to help you.
Next, we have Brenda on the line. Hi, Brenda.
Hi.
Hi, what's your comment?
It's a suspension bridge, or swinging bridge, I guess. SENKIW, SENKIW School Suspension Bridge. Now you go past on, I think, Highway 59, out past St. Malo to the Roseau River sign, and then turn right. And it's kind of tricky to find, but there's two ways in. If you want to go for a hike and get to the suspension bridge, you go for a hike, and then you go on one end. If you want to, park, and there's a bathroom, and there's a little bit of a hike. And it was originally built for the kids in the area crossing the Roseau River to go to school. And it's a heritage site, and it's really beautiful.
Thank you so much, Brenda. We have just about 30 seconds here. Colin, your reaction to that. I never heard of that bridge before.
Brenda is right. I have been on that bridge, and she is also right. It's a bit tricky to find. So if you're looking for directions, I would encourage you to get some. The story is exactly what she said it is. There are other suspension bridges also in the province that are worth checking out, because they're really quite incredible. And but these are just the little hidden gems that are all over the province. And here again, go on travelmanitoba.com. It's all right there. If we can't find something for you, I don't know. Bad on us.
And don't be afraid to stop by the Travel Manitoba Visitor Center, right?
Totally. I mean, we're right at the Forks. You can't miss us. Some 4 million people go through the Forks every year. Stop in, say hi to us, get some information, pick up a brochure, pick up our inspiration guide. Again, the information's right there. Or challenge one of our frontline people, and they'll give you some ideas and some inspiration.
Colin, thank you so much for joining us today here on the show. Lots of great ideas. Thank you once again.
My pleasure. Anytime.
That is Colin Ferguson, President and CEO of Travel Manitoba. Faith Vandal joins me now in studio with a look at what's coming up this afternoon. Hi, Faith.
Marjorie, if you don't know about this, I'm really sorry to be the bearer of bad news. We're going to talk about how to get your taxes done before the deadline. Stay tuned.
Yes, that deadline's coming up fast. Thanks a lot, Faith.
Thank you.
That is Faith Vandal. Tune into Up to Speed starting at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Well, thank you for joining us here on Radio Noon. Thank you to Abby Adeyemi, Sierra Sanders, Wendy Parker, and Travis Peterson. I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Coming up next here on CBC Radio 1, Bookends. Have a good one.